When you start a new game, within the first 10 minutes, you're forced to make some of the most important decisions that will shape your entire playthrough. I can take hours in the character creation screen, tweaking my class, race, stats, appearance, but once I finally start the game, something feels off. My character feels off, the dialogue options I pick feel off, it's like I'm playing the game wrong. There is a strange thing about RPGs, or really any game that gives you choices and consequences. If they're done right, you'll always wonder if you made the right decision. And that's great! It adds replayability and can surprise you hours later with plot twists you triggered without even realizing it. But there is one problem. It's hard to let yourself fail. Instead of accepting a negative outcome, we want to see the better one. The timeline where your companion survives, where you win the fight, where you pass the dice roll. So we reload, check the other option, reroll the dice, repeat. We naturally want to win, and the more you do that, the less meaningful the game becomes, until eventually the whole playthrough starts to feel hollow. You restart with a new character, then another, and after doing that a few times, you'll most likely drop the game altogether. Chasing the optimal path is the fastest way to ruin your playthrough. Here's the thing. If that's you, you might just struggle with making choices. And I get it, I catch myself falling into that all the time. It's not just that there are endless games to choose from, we're constantly bombarded with content telling us what's trending, what's good, what's bad, which class is strongest, what build is optimal, how to maximize fun in the shortest amount of time. And time, yeah. Who even has that anymore? Stopping to enjoy an in-game sunset or the type view from a clip? No way. We rush to the next quest, the next release, because there is always another game of the year around the corner. We add it to the backlog and pretend we'll deal with it later. How many times you thought about a game in terms of how long will it take to finish, instead of how fun does it look to play? After dozens of hours, what if your class ends up weak? What if one dialogue choice locks you into the worst ending? We don't want to waste our precious time, we want to win. And gaming naturally encourages this mindset, the perfect stats, the optimal route, the 100% completion, rather than just immersing ourselves in the world. So, how do we stop trying to optimize every moment of our playthrough and actually enjoy the game? Well, the struggle to make a choice and stick to it is a concept reflected in media since the dawn of time. Let's look at someone who might be the most indecisive character to ever exist. Chidi is a fictional character from the comedy series The Good Place.
Do you lock him?
Oh yeah. Why? When I tell Henry that I liked his boots, I don't like his boots, I hate his boots.
He's a moral philosophy professor whose defining trait is crippling indecision. Every choice, no matter how small, is a moral puzzle. He wants to do the right thing, and not just good, he wants to make the perfect choice. What ends up happening is that he doesn't make any choice at all, and his indecision leads to many painful but comical outcomes. Sounds familiar? That's a hyperbolic version of our self-critical point in our games, staring at dialogue options, stats, or story decisions and wondering, am I playing it wrong? I recently experienced this myself with Disco Elysium. You can create your character or choose from 3 archetypes: thinker, sensitive or physical, and my completionist brain thought that if I played as an intelligent cop, it will be the most efficient way to solve cases. I mean, it makes sense, right? Except I didn't. I failed dialogue checks constantly. My win-at-all-cost brain kept pushing me to reroll, try different builds, and chase the optimal outcome. It took me a while to realize that this Elysium isn't about winning, it's about moving forward despite failure. The protagonist is a cop struggling with memory loss and alcohol issues, and the country he's in is a failed social experiment. Once I let go of the need to win and embraced failure, the story became funny, engaging, and far more enjoyable.
Not so fast.
Sometimes developers intentionally want you to feel uncomfortable by forcing you to choose between bad and worse, like Geralt in the Witcher games, who is constantly trying to pick the least awful outcome. Or in smaller games like Slay the Princess, where the entire premise is built around moral discomfort.
You're here to slay her.
Wait, what?
If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Kill the princess or let the world end. And no matter what you do, it feels wrong. You never feel like you're playing it right. And I love when impossible choices are used as a storytelling tool, but in a 100+ hour RPG, it's easy to start overthinking everything. Even the thought of restarting a whole playthrough because of a non-optimal choice you made hours ago can feel exhausting. Completion rates for RPGs have been dropping consistently over the years. For example, many Baldur's Gate 3 players never even finished Act 1, even after 100+ hours of playtime. A lot of them start new characters, still chasing that perfect run. This perfectionist loop often leads to burnout, unfinished games, and never-growing backlogs. Despite how rich modern RPGs are, over 70% of players never finish the games they buy. So why is it so hard to commit to just one playthrough? It's easy to assume the abundance of choices, builds and dialogue options is a design flaw, but it isn't. If it were, RPGs wouldn't be nearly as fun. The real issue is how our brains react to too many choices. Psychologist Barry Schwartz calls this the paradox of choices. The more options we have, the less satisfied we feel with our decisions. Basically, the harder our brain has to work to make a choice, the less happy we end up being with it. Imagine being at a restaurant with a massive menu, but you can eat there only one dish and you will be there only once in your life. Instead of feeling excited, the fear of missing out kicks in. No matter what you pick, there is that nagging thought: did I choose right?
You kind of want to change your order.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Excuse me. Risotto. Risotto.
According to Schwartz, the people who struggle with this the most are called maximizers. Maximizer is someone who always tries to find the most optimal outcome in every decision. If you constantly worry about making the right choice, you're probably one of them. In the chapter Doing Better but Feeling Worse, psychologists Barry Schwartz and Andrew Ward state that unconstrained freedom leads to paralysis. When faced with too many options, maximizers don't just want to choose, they want to make the perfect choice. But in the pursuit of perfection, they often end up doing nothing. In gaming, that means starting over, second-guessing every decision, and sometimes never finishing the game at all. That's maximizer paralysis. Here is where it gets messy. Game studios and publishers know this. They track player attention, completion rates and engagement. For example, Xbox measures Game Pass success partially by how long players stick with the title. So when they see that most people drop off early, they start thinking, why give players so many choices? Let's simplify things, fewer stats, clearer objectives, maybe even design an AI helper to guide them through so they don't get lost. Streamline everything. But does that make better games?
No.
Here is the paradox: we like having choices. Even if we struggle to make them, we crave for branching narratives, complex builds and meaningful decisions. If RPGs were designed purely around retention metrics, we wouldn't have games like Baldur's Gate 3. Our need to optimize every decision often reduces the satisfaction we get from it. If you're a maximizer, you chase the best choice instead of the one that makes you happy. The more options a game hands you, the more you'll want to reload and try another one. But what if instead of trying to win, we focus on what our character will do? I call this the roleplay approach. Whenever I catch myself restarting or save scamming, it's usually because I'm thinking like a player, optimizing outcomes. Instead, I should be thinking like the character I created. Role-playing starts at character creation. If you commit to a clear in-world concept for your character, you give yourself permission to accept messy outcomes and interesting failures. Games like Fallout New Vegas or Baldur's Gate 3 do this well. They make you choose a background, perks or traits, little hooks that nudge you towards a role. They help you ask the real question: what kind of personality do I want to play? When I create a new character, I like to focus on two things: class archetype and alignment. When you open the character creation screen, try to think about who you want to be. Older RPGs actually help you to do this. In Morrowind, for example, the game didn't just ask you to pick a class, it gave you the option to take a personality test.
Your mother asks you to help fix the stove. While you're working, a very hot pipe slips its moorings and falls towards her. What do you do?
Your answers helped you shape your class. I wish more games did something like that. It's such a great way to set the tone for your playthrough. It's a small touch, but it made you think about who you were before you even stepped into the world. Choosing a class or background isn't just a numbers game, it's a decision about how your character interacts with the world. Instead of obsessing over attributes or stats, think in broader terms. Are they a noble warrior defending the realm? A curious mage chasing forbidden knowledge? A cunning thief who trusts no one? Or maybe a quiet ranger watching from the shadows? You can apply this idea into any setting, fantasy, sci-fi, even post-apocalyptic. This is your foundation. From here you can ask questions like: why does my character carry a sword? Why do they wield magic? You can go as deep as you want, but once you pick the direction, stick with it. Treat every skill your character gains as a part of their journey, not a spreadsheet you're trying to perfect. The second step in defining your character is alignment. This comes straight out of Dungeons and Dragons, and is basically a simple system to figure out character's personality along two axes: good versus evil and law versus chaos. Are they someone who follows the rules or someone who follows their own code? Do they lean towards helping everyone or looking out for themselves? To give you a few examples, a lawful good character might be a knight who protects the innocent and upholds justice. A chaotic good one could be a freedom fighter, someone who wants to do good but couldn't care less about the rules. True neutral could be a witcher or a druid, maintaining balance without taking sides. A lawful neutral might be a judge who only cares that the law is upheld, no matter the morality behind it. Lawful evil could be a tyrant who uses those same laws to control everyone, while chaotic evil is your classic bloodthirsty warlord. And neutral evil? That's someone who only cares about themselves, no matter who gets hurt in the process. Whether you pick chaotic good or neutral evil, when the moment comes to help the grove or side with the absolute in Baldur's Gate 3, you won't hesitate. Your alignment will guide your choice. From now on, instead of min-maxing stats and outcomes, try thinking more like, how will my character react? Instead of, what's the most optimal move? If you let go the player mindset and let yourself immerse in the game, you won't feel like you're playing the game wrong. It will always feel right, as it will be driven by your character's decisions. Once you're focused on their journey instead of your mistakes, restarting won't feel necessary. Every choice, even the bad ones, becomes part of their story, your story. There are a few games that have tried to fix these issues by adding in-game mechanics designed to make you stick with your choices. Kingdom Come Deliverance, and now its sequel, has built a system that makes you think twice before creating a new file. It limits when and how you can save, forcing you to live with your decisions. If you want multiple save files, you have to earn them, by brewing or purchasing savior snaps. Yes, you can gather plenty of it, but knowing you spend time and effort to gather it makes you think twice before using it on every minor encounter. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can start your game with a lot of custom settings. You don't have to play on Honor mode, but you can restrict your playthrough to a single save file. I actually suggest doing that. The game becomes more meaningful and is naturally easier to avoid save scumming. Either way, if you play with a mindset that only death is final and let everything else flow, your playthrough will feel far more memorable.
And whenever you're ready, you just walk through.
I'm ready.
At the end of The Good Place, Chidi learns how to make decisions. The most indecisive man on earth finally understands the root of his indecision. The desperate need to always make the right choice and never make mistakes. His obsession with doing the right thing eventually led him to do nothing, which in itself caused harm. Indecision has a cost, and perfection is impossible. That applies to everything, from games we play to the choices we make in life. At the end of the show, Chidi isn't lost anymore. He's calm, certain, not because he knows the right answer, but because he's at peace with uncertainty. Making the right choice is impossible. The best we can do is make the choice that feels right in the moment, for us, for our character, or for our goals. So what I'm really trying to say is, embrace imperfection and failure, because without them, no game is fun. The truth is, there is no wrong way to play, there is only your way.